In this episode of the Churchfront Show, we are talking about the new Mac Mini from Apple. We're going to talk about the Shure Axient digital PSM in-ear monitoring system. There's also this cool device that you can use to actually control a gimbal for your camera if you want to have a PTZ cinematic look to your live stream, and much, much more in the latest worship tech news. So welcome to the Churchfront Show. Welcome back to the Churchfront Show, where we are bringing you the latest news on all things churchfront and worship and production. This is our highly produced expert show here, where we put a ton of research in ahead of time to make sure we are bringing you all the most accurate, up-to-date information about everything we're about to cover in this video. So, and I'm just being sarcastic because we are actually very busy running Churchfront, doing the things we have to do to make content, to help clients, and to build this thing called Churchfront. That this show, it's a fun way for us to actually kind of just get together, and between the three of us here, and just kind of keep up with what's the latest, what's going on, what are some of the cool products being released these days that we can use in our worship ministries and our production ministries, and in some of the projects that we're doing here at Churchfront. So a couple exciting things. Let's kind of catch people up to speed with what we've been doing this year. Churchfront has been diving into a lot of integration projects. So we've got some fun ones going on around the country right now. We've got a system in Alabama that is pretty much a full system with a new PA, acoustic treatment. They're retaining some of their mixing console gear and things like that. Well, maybe, right, Adam? We don't really know what they want to do there. But they're finishing a new build out, expanding a space that I think was maybe a couple hundred seats to now over 500 seats in this worship center. So we've got that project hopefully be wrapping up soon. We're just kind of waiting on the other trades to finish what they need to do before we can put our finishing touches on AVL. Any updates on that, Adam? Do you think we'll be done that one are they going to be done by like December here?
Got a meeting tomorrow, so we're going to kind of refinish up our diagrams with figuring out what happened is they did a pretty good job of using their temporary space, and they kind of realized like this actually could be another great space for events, youth, things like that. So they thought that it was just going to be temporary, and then they realized, oh, this is actually going to be a great space. So let's retain this and then figure out what equipment we need to purchase to keep that other space functional. So they'll end up with two really nice functional spaces.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, so we'll be able to wrap that up soon. And then we've got a couple other projects going on. We've got an acoustic treatment project going in next week. We got a new mixing console that we're commissioning up in Minneapolis at a church up there, Avantis system with Waves Super Rack. And then we've got another project we're about to do here in January up in just north of Chicago. That's going to be a full system install. So we are very busy the next few months with all these projects happening, and I want to encourage you guys to check out the Churchfront crew waitlist. I'll link it down below. But as we have these installs happening around the country, we are contracting local contractors to give us a hand, and you can have next to no experience, and we can train you on a lot of these things. Or if you have experience, that's great too. So check out that form below. It's going to put you into our system. And then when we have an opportunity near you, we'll reach out and see if it's a good fit to have you join the crew. But so far, it's been a really fun way for us to get to meet a lot of you guys in person and work alongside of you, and you're helping us get work done. And it's a great way. It's a great way for you guys to be able to make some extra money on the side too. So one more big announcement. Sorry, we have the Churchfront Conference. So if you want to pull up the details there, that is coming next year, September 30th and October 1st, 2025. Same location, South Fellowship Church in Denver. And we've got tickets on sale already. I'll tell you guys the secret discount code, early bird. Go put early bird in here and see what happens, because if I don't know how long my finance guy is going to let me do this, but there's a very deep discount here, and people are already taking advantage of it. So if you go put early bird in the discount promo code section here, just see what happens. Snag your tickets for next year. A bunch of people had already been asking me like, "Hey, when's the conference next year? How much is it going to cost?" It's like I have not had time to even blink since the conference, but now we have it up ready to go. I feel like what's kind of nice from year to year now, I feel like we get a pretty good system for putting this together and having a great time. So just go to churchfront.com/conference to learn more and book your tickets today. So with all the housekeeping done, let's move into all the latest and greatest news. Let's start with good old Propresenter and some updates they made. They actually made a pretty cool update. Adam, are you driving right here? You can tell us more about it.
Yep. Yeah. So it is Aircast. So we talked about basically a mini PC or like a Pi computer or something last time that lets you do this. Um, and now it's built in. So it might not be the same exact kind of things that you could do with the tool that we talked about on our last show. But their example of how they use this here is an input. So it's they're really talking to the teaching pastors here. You got content on your iPad, pull it in to Propresenter through Propresenter iCast. So it shows up like an Apple TV, and then you can see it within Propresenter as an input. So pretty cool.
So it doesn't come in as a screen. It's a or is it a screen?
Yeah, it comes in as a screen.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So I did not find. I found online like here are all of their features, all of the Propresenter features. It doesn't have just the new ones, so that's why I have the YouTube video pulled up. But yeah, it just comes in like you saw right here. Input 3 Aircast, and you can even it looks like it allows you to pull audio in, so that's pretty cool.
I wonder,
very impressive.
Is this a Bluetooth? Is it a Bluetooth functionality or is it a Wi-Fi functionality? If it's not, it has to be one of the two, right?
Yeah, I would think. I mean, I don't know. You're the guy that
It's
worked
got to be
at Apple
Wi-Fi.
here.
No, it's gotta be.
Yeah.
It's whatever the same, because I think there's other. There's quite a few like consumer products that or apps out there that just have the built-in. Well, actually, it's gotta be an iOS device, right? So the hardware
Right.
you're gonna be casting from your iPad or iPhone, and then it must be. There's obviously Apple's opened it up to developers to like put in that AirPlay functionality into their device to be able to present content. Like I feel like there's probably some TVs out there, even maybe without an Apple TV. I feel like you could still potentially do that, right? Like you don't have to have an Apple TV to AirPlay.
Samsung makes a TV that has AirPlay built right into it.
Yeah, so I think this is the same idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's just encouragement to have a good robust network when you're for your production environment. Have a good network system, and that way you don't have to worry about. I mean, we haven't tested this, we haven't seen this in action, but it's a really cool feature as long as the connection is strong. Seems like a really good option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember having to do what they're showing on the screen here. Pull like an Apple TV, help the teaching pastor download apps and connect to it every time, and it was a lot of work to get them to be able to basically highlight scripture and underline and point and have slides and have it go on TV. So yeah, it's cool that we're able to do these things easier.
Question for you guys, in light of this feature, highlighting and underlining text and scripture from an iPad on stage in the production environment, underrated or overrated?
Oh man, I think it's acceptable. I think it's under. I think it's good. I mean, yeah, I think pastors could or should be doing that if it's their style. I'm not gonna discourage from that, but this sure makes it way easier to do that.
Yeah. I mean, the context for the church that I was at was we are in a season where we want to teach you how to uh, learn to read the Bible, like how to like see scripture and connect the dots between, here's this word and a line, a couple sentences down and how they connect and be able to read the Bible that way. Um, so I think in that context, it was super helpful. It was worth the work.
Yeah. My opinion is that if you're using it in that context where you're actually teaching your congregation how to read the scriptures, or showing them patterns in the scripture, it's worth the hype, it's worth the work. If you're a pastor who's up there just like showing 3 bullet points from your keynote, and it's just it's basically just your slide content from your iPad, and you want it to be screencast, I feel like it's overhyped, and it's it's not worth the work. But I wanted to, I was just curious about what you guys thought about that.
Totally.
Yeah, for our context with integration, we've been speccing where we put a video input on stage. This might be a decent alternative to that, but it's with Apple computers only or Apple devices only. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
still think video
I
connection
wouldn't
on
be
stage.
yeah, I wouldn't be super confident in it. I mean, if we're honest, because it's Propresenter, you'll probably have to reboot it a couple of times to get it to work right. But it's it's a good start. It's a good kind of budget friendly option to get stuff. Well, really, it's free included in the software to get stuff casted to the screen itself. And actually, if it has glitchy issues, it's like how much of that's a Propresenter issue versus like just AirPlay in general. I'm not using AirPlay, it can be weird. Like we literally, like for our conference, we had a bunch of Apple TVs, people trying to AirPlay, presenters trying to AirPlay to an Apple TV, but maybe there was network issues. I don't know, but one device would work fine, the other device wouldn't. It's like, man, I don't know. I really wouldn't use this in a high stakes environment.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Would you use a bunch of Blackmagic Ultra Studios at the conference next year?
Oh, instead of Apple TVs, so to go directly into the TV for like breakout rooms and stuff?
Yeah, so it's just Thunderbolt cable, the Blackmagic device, HDMI out into the TV.
That's smart.
Oh, yeah, that's not a wait. You can do that. Wait, I thought the Ultra Studios. Yeah, I guess you're right. That would kind of. Do they do out? Are they outputs or inputs? There's the monitor version, and then there's. Well, it'd have to be the
Monitor
Ultra.
is the output.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd have to be the
The
mini
recorder's
monitor.
the input.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a bad idea, but it's just so much work to have to, especially if we're like trying to with projection screen setups. If the projector's mounted up somewhere, you got to like figure out how to get the cable run and all that stuff. But even for simple TVs, yeah, you're right. So,
Sweet.
Cool. Moving on. The next thing we wanted to point out was the new Shure PSM Axient. So this one here, I can pull it up on my screen. Axient digital PSM. So and this is a segment of show where we talk about gear that none of us can afford. I don't even know how much this thing costs, actually.
Axient has some, I think in this process
right
you
here.
have to have some licenses for things, so that's where it gets scalable. I don't know necessarily what the particular license is, but everybody knows what Axient is. It's kind of the top tier wireless of Shure's lineup. Like this is the touring rig, the Swift Eras tour. That's what they're using. I mean, this is big boy stuff that's not necessarily pertinent to church environments, but it's pretty similar technology to what we talked about last time with Sennheiser's new in-ear monitor and wireless transmitter setup. But this is specifically talking just about Axient with their in-ear monitor setup. It's pretty cool stuff, but again, maybe a little bit beyond what churches would need in their environments.
Yeah, I mean, when's like the PSM 300, 900, those series are the last time that there was an update to Shure's in-ear systems. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything in here that you see that is like, groundbreaking beyond just having an Axient line?
No, to be honest, yeah, I don't see anything too crazy about it. But again, that's more my just own ignorance on the topic.
Well, there's the True Diversity, which is in Axient for microphones, where there are 2 antennas, but that I think is new to the in-ear system. The WMAS, I'm not going to be able to explain that on the Churchfront show, but you can go read about that. So that's a newer part of the technology.
But
I think
someday our team will be big enough where we will just have one person who all they do is talk to all these manufacturers about what's cool about their stuff. So we will actually know a little bit more. So, but a lot of these things are like, hey, we're pointing it out. Go do your own research if you want to learn more about it.
Yep. And we're just being clear that you should not just go on sweetwater.com and order this for your 200-person church.
Yes, for sure.
Correct. Yep. Okay, cool. Moving on. Next up, we've got a cool new product from Middle Things. They're a company that makes cinematic PTZ controllers for live video production. So if you are using like some sort of cinematic camera with a DJI Ronin gimbal, you can put this little controller onto the gimbal itself, and then it's going to receive data and actually issue control commands for the gimbal. So they make a few different things. So they just came out with the Mini here. The Mini is the this little small device here, not much to it. And then you've got the remote. So this is like a joystick for controlling it. So that's pretty slick. You can kind of select which camera you want to control. My only question about this ecosystem is like, what do you do about like lens control? I know some cameras might have like servo lenses built into them, but I'm just a little curious about, the Z part of pan, tilt, zoom, where like how do you control the lens? But I'm sure there's some sort of solution in there for that.
I've never even heard of Middle Things. Do they make other stuff that we would be familiar with, or is this really their main bread and butter?
I think this is it. Yeah, this is the main thing. They just all these camera control devices, wireless control. Yeah, because if you use black
zoom motor of the gimbal.
Oh, speed. Got it. So zoom, like some of these gimbals apparently have zoom motors on them. So that's how it works.
What's the cost on one of these guys?
I think it was like $500 for the Mini for just the controller. Yeah, $490.
Okay.
And then the remote is like another $1,500. That's a little pricey, but it's comparable to other like joystick controllers out there. So that's just a cool tech to be aware of, guys. Again, maybe for some context it would be appropriate. When you start adding up the cost of the controller, the receiver, you're at $2,000, and then you're at like a gimbal. I haven't even looked into what like a Ronin costs lately, and the camera. I do think for a lot of church applications, you're probably just better off going with a 1-inch sensor PTZ camera, integrated solution. You still probably need a joystick controller, but I don't know. The price could be similar.
And if you're looking for a certain look with your camera, if you're going more cinematic, if you're wanting to do black magic and have a LUT and all that kind of stuff on it, then maybe that would be the solution there. But if you're just putting like a basic camera up on there, then it's not. I don't know if it'd be worth the headache, but it's definitely cool. Yep. The form factor is really interesting that it can just partner with a gimbal, as opposed to, because there's other robotic heads. Like I visited a church last week that had like big Sony broadcast cameras, kind of some older models, up on like a PTZ converter box that they had a transmitter and receiver, like one at the camera and one at front of house, and they're pretty bulky. Like they're massive, big. Essentially they're adding the PTZ functionality to the camera. That just seems like overkill. So having the ability to just mount it to a Ronin would be cool.
Yeah. Okay. So the Focus Pro motor, that's $149, and then the DJI Ronin. Okay, that smaller version is $549 for the Ronin, but then there's the bigger one. I'm not sure which one. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty cool. Because these Ronin gimbals and motors are way less expensive than I would have thought. So
yeah,
I might be tempted to test one of these out here sometime soon. Imagine just having a cool, just like a dedicated stand. And if you mounted one of them on what's this called? Savvy
Savvy
stands here.
monopod. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are sweet.
This website's a little slow, but anyways, it's a cool like monopod stand to be able to like, man, you could mount that stuff on there and then just have like this killer remote follow cam setup. So
I think
definitely a lot.
That's the application right there, is like you have static shots. That's what people run into a lot, is they want to have a follow cam for like the lead pastor when they're teaching or worship leader, but they don't, have enough people or have a camera stand position or whatever. But if you had static cameras everywhere else and you just invested $1,200 into making your follow cam remote controllable, then I think one person could very easily switch cameras and do one follow cam at that position.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How many, does it say how many cameras that controller can receive?
I think it was 4.
I'm curious. Oh, 4. Okay. That's pretty cool. I mean, that controller is small footprint. It's not as big as a lot of the other controllers that are out there. So I feel like that's pretty nice to be able to have just that small footprint simplicity. And yeah, it's pretty dope.
You can also use an Xbox controller apparently too on your as a controller using the software.
Talk about teenagers getting plugged into the tech ministry. You'd be their favorite person.
Yep.
Huh.
Aviation standard Xbox controller. We suggest using the new Thrustmaster Airbus side stick. That's funny. Wow.
That's incredible.
Companion.
Yep. Companion works with it.
Nice.
Yeah. Man, props
and a
to the
desktop
nerds.
app.
Yep.
That's sweet.
Cool. Well, moving on. We've got this cool Instagram reel. I don't know if you have that pulled up, Adam, or you want me to pull it up. It's a kind of a demo of using AI to control the mixer. So what are we seeing?
So he's got the DM3 from Yamaha, and then he has somehow he's got this AI integrated where he's kind of giving it prompts, and then it's able to label the channels, change the faders, it looks like.
Set filters.
Yeah. So CQ Ultra, that was what he was using to prompt it. I know that, Luke, have you started working with this mixer yet?
Just in their offline editor, but this AI companion is a feature set of the DM line. And from what I've been told, it's still in beta. But this guy on Instagram has been kind of testing it and kind of showing the process. He's basically set up like whole show files. He's essentially like dictated what he wants each channel to be named, colored, where he wants the fader set, high pass filter, set a certain band. Like he's even set certain bands at certain EQ points with 3 decibels of gain reduction on a bell curve. Like he's been just dictating out what he wants the mixer to do, and it just does it. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm excited. That reminds me of the other project we have going on right now, where a church in Montana will be installing a DM7 here pretty soon. So that'll be a fun console to get our hands on and to actually deploy and make some videos about it too. So, man, there's more projects that we have going on than I can even think of off the top of my head right now.
This is cool, and I think people should I think people, as we talk about these features, I really think rather than getting fixed on like the brand or whatnot, I think for people to be able to conceive of a day where to set up a mixer or to do a training or something like that, we might be using AI companions to do it, dictate things rather than physically having to use rotary encoders or offline editors or whatnot to put these things in. Like, Yamaha's the first one that's kind of rolled this out, but I will not be shocked if, the rest of the console manufacturers follow suit soon after.
Yeah, because it is definitely in its like beta phase where it's like a little, obviously it takes more time for me to explain to the console what to do than to just go and like do it myself, right? Like, but it's cool to see how they're able to transcribe the speech or the text, and the console can like understand that. Like, man, we are not prepared for where things are about to go with AI. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, even bigger shows, people would be like, okay, what are your inputs? Let me write that down for you on a piece of paper. And so, like, if you're able to take a screenshot of just your input list that's on a notepad and then say, set up a show file based on this, and it's learned enough to know, like, okay, like, I know your preferences of I'm going to high cut all the guitars, or I'm going to high cut all the vocals at a certain frequency, or like just your starting point is going to be in such a better spot.
Bass is always blue. You got to have your drums are always red. Be great.
Yep.
And I even think for training purposes, it's like, being able to tell, let's say you had some volunteers in the room, you wanted to demonstrate kind of maybe an effect engine on the board or whatnot. You could essentially have a clean show file, and you could say, load up this input and, show me the reverb with this setting, and you could load up that preset, and then it could just, again, good starting places. Like, I don't know what we're going to be doing live with this in 5 years, but for just kind of logistical admin purposes, this is just a really cool time saver from the console side.
Yep. All right, up next, we've got new products from Apple. So this is actually kind of an important update. So Luke, break it down for us.
Yeah, the Mac Mini got a big redesign. I say big, but it actually got way smaller. So it's now the size. It's either the size of an Apple TV, or it's like really close to being the size of an Apple TV. So it's way more Mac Studio like, but with a smaller footprint. That's the hand graphic we've all seen. I think it's a pretty cool redesign. I watched a breakdown video of it, and everything is very efficient. So it's blowing kind of Mac Studio specs out of the water with this Mac Mini format. The downfall is that the power button is on the bottom. That's the joke that's been going around, but Apple always finds a way to like really annoy people if you've got a Magic Mouse and the charging port is on the bottom. It's like these things are just like, who is designing these things and why are you making it so difficult? But again, in a production studio, most of the time we're rack mounting these things, so we're not usually accessing the power button a lot. But still, for manufacturers to have to redesign some of that stuff, but really cool. And price stayed the same, $599 for base model. And like I said, that $599 spec comes with 16 gigs of RAM standard, so that's a nice. The M1 Mac Mini was only 8 gigs of RAM, so it's kind of a nice. This would be a decent starting place for a production machine these days if you can integrate it well. It's the specs are great, so for the price point, you can't beat it.
Yeah, look, I just maxed out the price real quick. I think I maxed it out. M4 chip with 32 gigs of RAM, 2 terabytes of SSD, 10 gigabit Ethernet. Still under $2,000.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wow,
it's just silly.
Yeah,
and that's obviously not with a monitor or keyboard or mouse, but that's still for the machine. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's when Apple is doing a good job at a new product. Is if all the people who bought the last generation or even the next level up of the studio, they're all salty about it because it's like, oh wow, I just spent 3 times as much on my spec'd out studio. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, I don't know. It is kind of weird. It's like, okay, what's the difference between the base model M2 studio now versus that? I imagine they're going to be coming out with the M4 version of the studio pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, and you're getting more cores with the studio. So if you're doing higher end processing on the CPU and GPU, the studio is still a good option. But when we're talking about a Propresenter machine or something to run Light Key or something, it's really not you're not needing all of those cores beyond what we spec plenty of Mac Minis for that stuff. The studio is obviously gonna be snappier, but we've seen lots of production environments with the Mac Mini running just fine.
Yep, and I'm hopefully Sonnet Mac Mini. See if they have any updates on the new one coming out, because I would like to see the new product come out here soon.
They could fit 3 or 4 in one U.
Yeah.
At least 3.
Yep. I actually haven't. It's kind of funny. I haven't spent much time exploring even some of these other products that Sonnet has here, because you guys will see like a lot of our, let's see, you've got expansion systems for different. You've seen in our videos, we have a lot of things featuring the Rack Mac, like the mini server, the studio enclosure. They've got the Rack Mac, which is a simple, like basically nice shelf for your Mac Mini. So I'm hoping they come out with an update to this soon. I'm sure they're working on it.
Yeah,
but
they've got to figure out the airflow and the button.
Yeah, that reminds me too. I just think we need to get a 3D printer, and that's at the point where it's like you could probably just like we could make it's so small we could probably just make our own little like new Mac Mini mount little mechanism for putting it on a shelf.
If you're a 3D printer nerd and you want to join the Churchfront crew in a partnership somehow, send someone.
No, dude, it's not. 3D printers are. It's literally. I already did the research. It's like only $700 for a decent 3D printer, and it can print, whatever you want. So really, it's really just finding like the design files, right, for what exactly you want to print. Or I bet there's some sort of like design CAD software where you put your specs in for your print, but it's actually pretty straightforward.
Make rack ears for everything. That's all we would use that 3D printer for, is just make rack ears for every piece of gear.
Yep. Cool. And then Adam, this Midas Heritage Stream Deck integration, or was that you, Luke?
Yeah, I posted it to the thread. On this one. But it's pretty cool. And again, it's one of those things that I'm like, oh, this is sweet. It's on a console that I don't think any churches are going to be using right now, but in the future, I would say like this kind of integration probably isn't that difficult programming wise, coding wise. So the chips and consoles having the ability to partner with your soft keys on the console and soft keys on a Stream Deck. So this Midas Heritage, I think it's the HD line of consoles. You can essentially expand your soft key programming to a Stream Deck. So again, not super groundbreaking, like it's not going to change our lives overnight, but I think having the ability to just, use some of those extra peripheral devices with your console could be pretty cool down the line if it expands to other console manufacturers.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, already you can do MIDI integration, like on the Behringer. I've set up some Stream Decks to trigger, different MIDI commands to the console. So
right.
That's just taking that next step further.
Yeah. Yep. Seeing the Stream Deck as an input device on the console natively.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we got for today's Churchfront show and the latest news and cool products that we've seen so far. Definitely don't hesitate to share anything else you've seen down below in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go to churchfront.com. You can connect with our team if you have an upcoming project. We'd love to talk to you about that at your church. If you're needing to upgrade AVL systems, you can hop on in our program. And again, if you would like to be a crew member for Churchfront, go ahead and to check out the link below this video. Fill out that very quick form, and you can join our wait list to be a Churchfront crew member. And with that said, we'll see you next time.